So my buddy will love the fact that I'm wearing his hoodie. It's always the weekend. He sends me all kinds of free stuff, and I always forget to wear it when I'm doing these webcasts. Let me just make sure I had D set up as a panelist. I'm pretty sure I did. Yeah, I did. So he should be coming in any minute. I hope so. So before D joins us, I'll just so quick update on the market and what I'm doing. So I actually don't even have any cash in my account to do any buying today. I just went over to the bank to send a bank wire over to my account, and the branch manager wasn't there, and he's the one that knows me the best, and I didn't have my ID on me, so they wouldn't let me even do the bank wire, which kind of pisses me off. So now I can't even. It was only going to be, I think, $15,000. Hey, D. D, you there?
I'm here. How are you?
Good, man. How you doing?
Doing well.
So you are officially my first public CEO guest on the show.
Oh my God, that's.
I mean, I've been doing these webcasts now for the last few weeks for some of my subscribers on Substack and StockTwits, but it's basically just me and other investors from FinTwit talking about our strategies, our favorite stocks and whatnot. But you know, now that my subscriber list is growing for Substack, and I'm doing these write-ups on companies like MoneyLion, I think there's a ton of value of bringing on guys like yourself that are actually running these companies, and you can provide some insights on any of the things that I didn't get a chance to talk about in the write-up.
Yeah, great. No, thanks for having me. Really appreciate it.
So before, just to kind of kick things off, I don't have any questions prepared. Like, I just want to keep this casual. This is not CNBC or Bloomberg. This is just, two people having a conversation about a great company. So why don't you talk to us about yourself and what MoneyLion does, and then we can dive in.
Yeah, by the way, I saw a note on the chat saying that they can't see me, but I'm not able to start my video. I don't know if you have to make that available, or if you don't want me to, that's fine too.
Let's see. I thought maybe I can make you a host. I just try to make you a host. Let's see if that works. I thought I had enabled it in the settings from the very beginning.
Okay.
Oh, there you go. Oh, cool. Okay.
Perfect.
I can see the MoneyLion logo in the back, right?
Exactly. Yeah, look, I mean, first of all, thanks for having me. My background, I started the business in 2013, and I started it with myself and two of my co-founders. The other two guys were on the data science and machine learning side. So our CTO, Chi-Mun Fung, he actually was my TA in the 90s at Purdue University. And my parents sent me off. My uncle was a professor there. My parents sent me off and said, go learn coding. And I was a 15-year-old, and this guy Chi was like the TA, and we kept in touch. And he had just sold his AI company to a defense subcontractor, publicly traded defense subcontractor. And in 2013, we started talking about what was happening in financial services. So if you remember what happened in 2000s, right? So the LBO boom of 05, 06, the last time SPACs were.
And you go way back, right? Because you've been in the financial services industry for a long time, right?
Yeah, exactly. So so the last time the SPACs were popular was 05, 06, when like all the private equity companies were using it to take companies public.
And that's what people just used to call them blank check companies.
Exactly.
Right.
And then 07, 08, and I was always a FIG banker. So I was always, my clients were American Express, Capital One, and I spent some time in London and England. And I actually worked on the first bank globally that failed. It was Northern Rock.
Oh yeah.
So we were, nationalizing Northern Rock. And it was in that process where we built a lot of the thesis for what we've been able to do at MoneyLion is that the banks were, the US regulator took a front row seat inside of Wells Fargo, Chase, Citi, Capital One, all the way down to the regional banks, community banks. And all the innovation that used to happen inside of a bank was ceded to Silicon Valley. So what we were seeing was that Twitter and Facebook were teaching Americans how to live very private lives all of a sudden publicly on a mobile device. And of course, now it's gotten completely, like you can't live without those platforms now, right? I mean, that's how we all interact.
I'm on Twitter 10 hours a day. So
yeah, your whole business model is now Twitter.
Seriously,
right?
yeah.
So imagine that in 07, 08, right? So even in the early 2010s, like if you wanted to get a personal loan, it was a 10-page application at the bank that you're sitting there with a banker. All of that digitalization, we found that was an incredible opportunity now to apply artificial intelligence, machine learning, data science in a modern way to build a digital banking platform. So we started the business in 13, just kind of like on an experiment. I went to one of my bosses from Citadel where I used to work. And I said, look, the banks are on the sidelines. This is going to be an incredible opportunity to build a dominant digital financial platform, right? I mean,
you guys are strictly digital, right? You don't have any actual brick and mortar branches?
100% digital. Right. And it's been an amazing ride since then. We started off with credit. We added a robo-advisor in 2017. We added digital banking in 2018.
Talk about the robo-advisor, because I know there's other firms out there like Wealthfront and Betterment. It's an easy way for people to, get into investing through kind of automated ETF investing, right?
Yeah, exactly. So, our robo-advisor is industrial strength. It allows us to talk to our consumers about goals, like when do they want to retire, when do they want to send a kid to college, do they want to buy a car, do they want to sell a car? So this idea of advice, we believe is missing from the industry, right? So
okay.
We are a platform play. We've taken a contrarian approach in a lot of ways. So we are a digital bank in the center. So you can download our app and get yourself a digital bank inside a couple of minutes. But then the next conversation is in those times of excess when the household is doing well, let's get started with investing, right? So our approach has always been that managed investing is the right way for people starting off. So 90% of our members are first-time investors. And for them, instead of going to Robinhood and, buying fractional shares of X, Y, or Z, they can certainly do that. But the first step is to secure your base. The core satellite theory just says that 80% of your investable assets should be in a core strategy. And that core strategy is either based on your glide path to retirement or your glide path to a certain goal. Like if you really want to buy a house in 3 years, you want to take the appropriate amount of risk right now in the markets based on volatility, right? So our robo-advisor is actually incredibly powerful because it rebalances based on the volatility and the goal that you've put in. Like if you put in that, hey, I just want it to be a general trading account and I'm going to need the money in 2030. It's going to take a different level of risk. It's actually going to say that, hey, Jonah, that you should probably take, an 80-20 strategy. And let's also, by the way, thematics, future fintech firms or ESG portfolios are also available to you to meet that longer term goal. Because
so what are the investment options in there right now? I know it's all ETFs. Are you working with a few different ETF families?
Yeah, it's look, I mean, right now it's I'm looking at it right now. I'm looking at my portfolio. It's Vanguard and on the core side, and then we use Global X and Wilshire on the thematic portfolios.
Okay, yeah, I saw Global X and Wilshire in there. I didn't know you guys were also using Vanguard. So that's they're obviously Wilshire, they're one of the giants.
Yeah, Wilshire acts as the CIO, so they're actually curating the portfolio, and then Global X for future innovation, right? So this is, it's all diversified. So it's S&P Biotech Spider, Global X FinTech, Global X Social Media, China Consumer Global X, Esports, Millennials Thematic, Global X Cloud Computing, First NASDAQ Cybersecurity, right? So again, for my goal of really having a general investing account, that diversification, again, for the first-time investor provides a lot of comfort around some of the volatility in single names, right?
Absolutely.
Now,
I mean,
we also have a broker dealer. We launched our broker dealer last year.
Okay.
So I'm not going to say when, but
Is the idea, will that be more of a Robinhood type app where people can buy individual stocks if they want?
yeah, it will be, and I think we'll have our own take on it, where the rewards, everything's going to be rewards oriented,
Okay.
and it's going to have a social element to it as well. But that's certainly, there are three products that we've publicly said that we're launching in 2021. So I'm not going to put a date on when that may be out, but I will say, and this is again publicly available, that MoneyLion Securities is a broker dealer as well.
Okay. And now the other products are going to be a secured credit card and the digital wallet or crypto wallet, right?
Yeah. So, if you think about crypto, right, it's interesting because 86% of Americans still have never accessed crypto, right?
Including me. I've never bought or owned crypto before.
That's interesting. Yeah. So like our mission, and again, it's a highly mission-driven company. Everyone who works here obsesses about our mission. The mission to provide financial access and advice, right? So if we can build a very easy to understand access to or understanding of crypto, that's what we want to do there, right? So again, it'll be linked to our digital banks or roundups, right? So you're already spending on your digital bank account 20 to 30 times a month. With one flip of the switch, you can say, round me up into fractions of, Satoshis or fractions of Ethereum. I think that's a very interesting way to get folks that have never really had access to that start, in a safe way, understand that capability. Of course, there'll be buy-sell capabilities, but there's other platforms that you can do that on as well. Our differentiator will be that it's integrated into digital banking. And by the way, when you're holistically, when we're saying, hey, here's all the dollars you have to invest, when is it safe and how much if it is to safe to put into sort of a commodity-based cryptocurrency asset class.
So one of the, I don't know if you had a chance to read the write-up that I did, one of the points that I really wanted to hammer home for people is the ARPU, right? I mean, the value in getting your customers into multiple products.
Mm-hmm.
Not only does that help solidify the relationship and keep that customer very sticky for you, but obviously, as that average revenue per user is going up, it increases the lifetime value of the customer and obviously enables you to spend more money to acquire that customer. So I assume that's one of your big goals here, right? Is to have, each of your customers in 3, 4, 5, 6 different products.
Yeah, look, I think the platform approach, that's why we took the platform approach. And we were a venture-backed business. We are a venture-backed business. And, when we went to Silicon Valley to raise capital, sometimes we would get the critique that, hey, look, you guys are trying to do too much. But given the backgrounds that we had in banking, we never understood how you could just build a debit interchange business, right? And how you could just give a debit card. I mean,
hard to build a $10 billion business with just that.
So we are built for the long run here, and one of the big advantages that we have is that this is the most innovative team in American fintech, and we've said that to our investors. And if you look at the folks that came into our pipe, they all that's the premise that they're buying here, is that we're going to continue innovating for the consumer. And we built the tech layer. It's a platform of microservices, whether it's payments being instant, money movement being instant. There's decisioning that's happening. There isn't a 500-person call center in our Salt Lake City office that's saying, hey, Jonah should get a Instacash limit of 200 and Dee should get an Instacash limit of 250. It's all machine learning. So as we build that platform and money movement between our accounts, then we have interoperability. So what we said was, I think I see a good question about how MoneyLion look differently in 5 to 10 years. If you look at the technology that we built, the problem we saw in 2013 was that a lot of the money center banks have monolithic tech stacks, and they've been hemmed and hawed together over multiple mergers or multiple decades, and it creates a lot of friction. You can have a bank account with a bank and not be able to use that bank account to pay off your credit card debt with that bank, and that's because it's 2 different tech stacks. So when we built ours, it's actually the customers at the center. And then we're actually allowing you to have interoperability. So it's a digital bank, it's a robo-advisor, it's a lender, it's an advisor, there's rewards built into it. Very soon there's going to be a crypto wallet. all if it speaks to each other seamlessly. So we're then able to really use that holistic data set. We've got the digital bank. We know when you invest. We know when you borrow. We know how you interact with rewards. Our ability to know to really create a customized experience for you is right now it's one of the leading capabilities that MoneyLion has. So as we think about that platform approach, of course our consumers are oscillating from times of need and times of excess, and you're able to engage them in both of those times. It ultimately generates mutual benefit. We're able to give them a low cost product, but they're also coming back to us multiple times. So we're earning revenue multiple times a year as well. And that's the platform approach that's been working really well for us.
Now, fintech's obviously or just financial services in general is a very competitive industry. There's other players out there with similar offerings, although I do love the fact that you guys are building a one-stop shop platform. I don't know if you know my investment focus. I focus on companies under 10 billion market cap with revenue growth at least 30% for the next 2 or 3 years, where I believe there's also a upcoming catalyst that'll help get that multiple expansion, and companies that can at least 5x in 5 years. Although obviously I want more than that. And I think, just as an investor, MoneyLion really fits that bill. And I think what you guys are doing in the fintech space your market cap, I think right now, I think it's going to move much higher in the next 6 to 12 months. But I think you guys are not getting enough credit for everything that you're doing. But given that it is a competitive industry, how are you differentiating yourself when you're trying to acquire new customers? And what has been your best customer acquisition channel?
Yeah, look, in 2020, we saw a massive shift, right? The labor force changed. There's a lot more folks that are working multiple gigs, multiple 1099s, multiple W-2s. So really our digital banking and Instacash products resonated. But I think the question that you're asking here is a good one. Is like, it seems to be that there are a lot of fintechs, but if you look at MoneyLion, we're a technology layer. We're the interface layer on top of multiple different financial capabilities. So ultimately, if we think about the future, already multiple lenders are coming in and injecting their loan products into MoneyLion's ecosystem because we have the customer relationship. We know their credit score. We know how they bank. We know how much money that's coming into their account every Thursday from a payroll perspective, or every day nowadays. If you're driving Uber or working in a gig economy job, you're actually getting paid very irregularly. The banks aren't really built, the incumbent banks really aren't built to ingest that data today. It seems odd, but
or bring in other companies' products, right?
Well,
they want to try to create everything themselves and do it themselves, even though they're not very good at doing it.
That is the big that you've hit the strategy point, right? We want to go from a platform to being an aggregator, right? So who's the biggest aggregator in the market right now? It's probably Apple, maybe Amazon.
I was just going to say Apple. Yeah, their entire ecosystem is insane.
They've got their own hardware and they've got an app store. And they actually then have their rules on the app store. So they actually now sit in the middle of the user, millions of users and apps, right? So our strategy is a similar one where as we grow our digital banking base, as we get to understand our customers at a very unique level, over time, we will be in the best position to say, here is the optimal basket of financial products you should have. This is the advice and recommendation engine that we obsess about, right? So our entire technology is built for that, right? So insurance providers, 2 of them have invested in our Series C, are now injecting a digitally bound auto insurance, a digitally bound renter's insurance, all into our ecosystem. So for the consumer, it feels like MoneyLion. It sits in our financial heartbeat, but we're now earning some commissions on providing insurance. Same thing for a lending company, right? So, SoFi is a great example. They come up all the time. They're actually one of our partners in our marketplace. So if we see that someone is at the inflection point of needing to either get a new student loan or refinance an existing federal one, we're now able to go and say, hey, we've found you the optimal refinance capability. Press 1 for us to, really kind of start that process for you. And that's happening inside of MoneyLion, right? So then if you think about us, we're then the operating system, right? So we're of course earning some fees and some, merchant funded rewards or debit interchange on our own bank account, on our own investing capability, as well as our own rewards capability, but we're also now cross-selling other people's products. And that's the tech layer. So, when people say, how do you compare it to some of the other, SoFi comes up. SoFi is a great company, by the way, but they're going to go be a bank. They're going to go compete with Discover and Capital One and American Express to a certain extent with longer duration lending products. We're going to continue being the tech layer where, we'll have, some high value capabilities from our own financial products, but ultimately we want to be the advisor of choice for consumers, for millions of consumers to say, okay, am I optimizing even what my employer is giving me? Am I optimizing my insurance? Am I optimizing whether it's a HELOC or mortgage loan or auto loan? All of that will then sit inside of the MoneyLion app, and we'll be able to give advice on that. That's ultimately where we want to take the business model.
Just talk to me about the SPAC process. I don't think a lot of retail investors, and probably to a certain extent, even myself, really understand how it works. I mean, just so people know, Fusion Acquisition is doing a reverse merger with MoneyLion to take you guys public. And then the cash that was in that SPAC plus the pipe will then sit on your balance sheet, right?
Yeah, exactly. So, we started talking to the Fusion folks probably in July of 2020. We'd known them from the industry as well, and we had a common link. Ron Suber, I don't know if you know that name, but he's a prominent fintech investor. He's been invested in a lot of these businesses. He's our advisor, and he was working with them as well.
Okay.
So that was the common link. But really, from an outcomes perspective, we actually looked at our metrics at the end of 2020, and we'd shown a 200% year-over-year growth. Our operating margins were at 60+%. So if you think about like technology companies, it's a fast growth, high operating margin, right? That's how, I think I'm seeing a lot of the other questions. How's MoneyLion different from SoFi? Again, SoFi is a great company. They'll do really well. But if you look at our growth rate and our operating margin, they are that of a technology company, not of a bank. That's the one thing I'd leave you with in terms of that differentiation. But again, back to the SPAC point, as we saw that foundation, and as we think about our vision for MoneyLion is to be a daily destination. We want customers to be spending 60, 90 seconds with us daily. And that's why you'll see us doing a lot more with content this year. We're super excited. That's why we love the SPAC. The SPAC product for MoneyLion works perfectly. It may not work perfectly for everybody,
right? But
it made a lot of sense for us because instead of now being private and raising a Series D and a Series E and a Series F, and that would take me another 18 to 24 months.
Yep. With
a SPAC deal and the pipe, we're now able to put over $400 million on the balance sheet and accelerate what we believe is going to be, a massive kind of user growth strategy here.
Right, because if you had stayed private and raised another round of VC money, you never would have raised $400 or $500 million without diluting yourself, some ridiculous amount. So now It's like the best of both worlds. You get to go public, you have all this cash. And I always tell people, don't underestimate the power of being a publicly traded company. It gets you so much more exposure and branding. And once this ticker changes over from Fuse to, do you guys know what the new ticker is going to be?
I'm not 100% sure, but I think it's going to be ML.
That's what which I think used to be Merrill Lynch, right? Or Merrill Lynch was maybe MER. I can't remember, but okay, cool. So, once it changes over to ML, your guys are going to get even more exposure. The analysts are going to start picking up coverage. I would expect a ton of buy recommendations with, you probably can't agree with this, but $20, $25 price targets is kind of what I'm thinking. So a lot of big catalysts coming up when this.
Yeah, just kind of on the point that you talked about the SPAC, right? I think what's really important is that the pipe is really important. So we actually went and did a roadshow with a lot of investors.
Oh, okay.
We ended up getting a significant oversubscription, and we said this in the press release. It was upsized and oversubscribed from some of the best investors in the world. So BlackRock and Apollo led our pipe, but I would say then behind them were some of the smartest and best investors in both technology and growth investing. So we were excited about that because then we saw, just to your point, that the fundamentals and the projections that we're putting out there, people said, hey, look, there is a transformation. There's 4,000 plus FDIC insured deposit taking institutions. There's probably 20 or 30 of them that have mobile experiences worth having. And there's maybe, if you peel it even forward, there's probably 5 or 10 that are creating this private bank for the rest of us strategy, right? Or they're creating super apps, and MoneyLion's one of those 10, one of those 15. I don't know how you want to define that, but it's probably not more than that. These aren't precise numbers. Again, I know this is being recorded, but just kind of like mental math if I'm kind of thinking back of the envelope. And as we think about trillions of dollars of retail deposits moving into digital wallets over the next 5 to 10 years, there's a natural tailwind to the segment that we're in. And then if you look at our strategy of creating the technology for advice, you could have MoneyLion and Capital One or Wells Fargo, right? But we're now the smart layer on top of your brokerage, your RIA, your crypto, your digital bank, your buy now, pay later. That's a pretty interesting proposition in terms of the size of business that we could try to build by 21, 22, and 23.
Are you guys doing anything on the business side right now? I mean, could I set up a business bank account with you guys, or is it all just consumer?
It's all direct to consumer today.
Okay.
That'll be a growth opportunity for us in the future.
Okay. And then what about on the consumer side? Have you guys gotten into or thought about getting into, I know you do some consumer loans, right? A lot of the credit builder loans. Do you do any larger consumer loans or mortgages or auto loans? Are those growth opportunities as well?
Yeah, the credit builder program is for a very certain segment of our population. About 20% of our members would use the credit builder program, and really it's a super awesome product for if you're just trying to come in for 6 to 8 months and improve your credit score by 70, 80 points. It'll do that for you. But on the larger loans, we have a secured credit card that's coming up. So again, you've put in 5K, 10K into your robo-advisor. We'll give you an instant credit card backed by that.
Nice. Okay. I was wondering how you were going to secure it.
Yeah.
So you can secure it with the investment
account
as well.
That product exists at Interactive Brokers. It exists at Merrill Lynch Private Services. It exists at JP Morgan Private Bank, but it doesn't exist for the middle income consumer because now you're staying invested while getting the ability to use that cash, right? So that's exciting. And then on the mortgages, on the HELOCs, on the student loans, we partner.
Okay.
We have a balance sheet light approach. Like we don't want to go get a banking license right now, right?
Okay.
It's the same strategy that PayPal takes. It's similar to the strategy that Square Cash takes.
What are you the most excited about? What product do you think is going to really drive growth going forward? Or is it just the fact that you have so many different products that can help so many different people?
Yeah, look, I mean, our Instacash product is growing incredibly fast. We're super excited about that. It's not showing any signs of abating. The value proposition keeps getting better and better. I tell people that MoneyLion today is doing 33% of what our vision is, right? So as we keep expanding the different inflection points, we've gotten our consumers a digital bank, and now we're trying to get all the other inflection points, the bases covered, right? We're excited about crypto. I think the roundup capability. I've spent $97 at Walmart. $3 gets rounded up into, Bitcoin is an interesting proposition. I think that'll drive a lot of user growth.
Now, does everyone have to use that roundup, or is that just an extra feature if they want to?
Everything is an option.
Okay.
Everything is an option. So right now we have something called Shake and Bank, right? So if you use the MoneyLion debit card today and you shake your phone, right? You can actually get a random reward right now, but it gets invested into your robo-advisor. So you shake your phone like this after every. And what people love about that is sometimes it's random, right? So it's all randomized. So if, just yesterday, someone texted me, he's like, "Hey, I just shook my phone for a $130 bill, and I got the whole thing refunded."
Jesus.
Right? So
my parents would not appreciate this stuff, but I think your consumer base, the millennials, the people that are already tech savvy, they do like that. Like,
well, you think about rewards, right? I mean, rewards, like when you get points in a bank or even a card, it's like you never use it. Like,
no, you forget about them, you don't track them, they expire.
Like the sense doesn't matter, but like if you had a fun way of engaging with us where you knew that like, hey, maybe in this $150 purchase, I'll get the whole thing back. It's just a more fun way of engaging with the bank. So that when we say we're innovative, like there's always things like that we're doing, right? And then with Bitcoin, the consumer will have the option of whether they want it in Bitcoin or if they want it in their robo-advisory account.
I think it's very cool. I mean, there's another company out there that I'm familiar with that does that, the kind of like the cash back in Bitcoin. They partnered with all these big retailers. Yeah. So you go spend $1,000 on, bestbuy.com, you get 5 or 6% in Bitcoin back into your account, which is pretty cool. And I guess you guys are doing another take on that. Or because you also have that program, right? For regular cash, you do cash back with some big retailers. I know you have a bunch of them listed on your website.
Yeah, look, I mean, I'm looking at it right now. So CVS, Famous Dave's, Office Depot, PetSmart, Walgreens, Casper, Best Buy, DoorDash, Uber Eats. Actually, Uber Eats, you get up to 21% cash back on Uber Eats if you use MoneyLion.
That's wild. How that's insane. How do you get
Disney Plus, right? So you get, and then look, I mean, I think the Dell, a lot of Wish, every week we're changing and adding. And when we think about, again, the two-sided network, this is, again, the banks will be slower to do this. Everyone's going to converge over time, and we'll always be doing the next thing. So we're not necessarily worried about, it was funny, like Chase, their mobile app, they, the one that came out last year was they had features that we believe that our mobile app had 3 years ago, right? So yeah, they caught up to fintechs, but they caught up to fintechs from 2016, right? So the next modes of interaction will be different, right? So when we think about like that capability, our ability to create this two-sided network, where now the retailers want to access our digital bank customers. So we're now able to create mutual benefit on both sides, because the retailers are getting to drive GMV.
right?
And we'll be launching a buy now, pay later product very soon here. That
I forgot about that one. Yep, that's another one.
It's going to intersect there, right? So we're already seeing that our customers are using Afterpay and Klarna and Affirm, right? So why let them leave our ecosystem? Now,
do you guys allow bank wires from a MoneyLion account?
At this moment, we don't, but it's on our roadmap.
Okay, no, because I was just over at TD Bank, and they don't allow me to. So I'm still with TD, but I'm probably in the process of leaving. So good chance I come over to MoneyLion pretty soon. But I send a lot of bank wires, and I can't. They don't let me send bank wires off of their website or through the mobile app. I actually have to go into a branch and do it. Because they want to be able to obviously authenticate that I am who I am. So I know it's tricky when you're a digital first company. It's a little bit harder to authenticate people. To feel comfortable to send that wire, because once that wire goes out, there's really no way to get it back. So you got to be 100% sure that it's going, or it's at least coming from who you think it's coming from. So anything before we wrap up here, I know you're a busy guy, you got to get back to your day. Anything you want to, any parting words, anything you want to share with us, or we can go through some questions. I guess people are typing them in.
Look, we're excited for the next phase. Everything's about our mission, and as we think about the public markets, our employees and our board and all of our stakeholders are super excited to kind of go public, have a larger platform for us to tell our story, and I think the good news is this is the early part of our evolution, in the sense that all the growth is ahead of us. So we're excited about that.
So I remember I actually looked up this statistic the other day, and I actually forgot to mention it in my write-up on MoneyLion, but now I just typed it in again. So as of 2019, so a little outdated, there were 76,000 bank branches in the US, like just a insane number. I assume that number is probably down a little bit, because it did decrease from, over the last 4 or 5 years, it's gone down by about 1,000 branches a year. Where do you think we are in 5 years? I mean, could this number of bank branches be 50% lower than it is now, because companies like yours have grown so much that so many people are more comfortable doing, digital only banking?
Yeah, look, I mean, I think that certainly could be the trend, especially through the pandemic, right? I mean, people aren't going to unlearn some of the habits here, right? But that said, look, I mean, there's still a cash component in various parts of our country. There are other things like commercial banking where you do need the relationship approach. So, I don't think it's going to go to zero, but you will see even a lot of the commercial parts of the business going into digital modes. The apps are getting incredibly powerful. We're actually piloting a video chat feature inside the mobile app. So all of the reasons that you had to, like, either notarize or all of those are becoming digital, right? So I think banks, the branches will exist. I think Capital One's done a great job, right? They've made a lot of their, at least in New York, a lot of their
like cafes, right?
Hangouts.
They've done that in Boston too, down in the Seaport District.
They're interesting marketing vehicles as well, right? And then, it imbues trust for some of the banks. But as the infrastructure and the technology and mobile gets stronger and better, the trend is definitely not to have a lot of them. And I think a lot of the big banks have publicly stated that they're now closing or shutting down bank branches.
Oh, for sure, absolutely. I mean, I just got an email yesterday that my WeWork in Boston is closing down. So, I mean, you're definitely seeing commercial space shrink, at least in most of the major cities. Like you said, as people move out to the suburbs, they're not going into the cities every day, so they don't need to have a brick and mortar bank relationship next to their office, because everything is done online and through mobile apps. I mean, it's pretty incredible how far technology has taken us in the last few years, and I'm sure the next 5 or 10 years will be even more exciting for consumers as well as companies like yourself. So
100%.
well, thank you so much, man. I really appreciate you joining us today. This was recorded, so oh fuck, was this not recorded? I thought it was.
No, it is. It's a recording.
Okay. Oh yeah, you're right. Okay, because when I set all these webinars up, I always make sure I click that button that says record automatically. So, whew, I got scared for a second.
Thanks,
okay,
guys.
So this was recorded. So what we'll do is I'll send this out in an email to all my subscribers, and then over the weekend I'll get it posted on YouTube. I'll shoot it over to you. So if you guys want to share it, with anyone, you can as well.
Thanks.
Cool. Thanks, D. Have a good weekend, man. Take care.